If you do not understand white supremacy, which is racism, what it is and how it works, everything else that you understand will only confuse you. Black people shouldn't come in contact with each other at all under any circumstance unless they have a constructive agenda. Well, any effort that will help black people to think about what they are doing and why they are doing it, and that's black people, not just the youngsters and all like that, but that's black people in general throughout the entire world. We don't have an agenda. We don't have a reason for existing that makes sense. We don't have a culture that makes sense. Because if you just look at the essence of black culture, you can't even enumerate what it is, except a reaction to the culture of white supremacy. If the white supremacists are not holding us by the ear and say, okay, come here, fella, come here, okay, come with me, do this, do that, okay, when you finish doing this, I got another project for you. Now, we make sense when they are orchestrating what we are doing. You know, come over here and operate this machine. Okay, enough of that. Come down here and drive this vehicle. Okay, all right, enough of that. Come over here and build this bridge. Okay, enough of that. All right, now I'm going to allow you a little free time. See, once we get that free time, because, you know, the slave mentality is, hey, I'm not supposed to have free time. Somebody's supposed to be telling me what to do. So when I don't know, somebody's not telling me what to do every minute of my entire existence, I got no idea about what to do. I don't even know what I'm existing for. So then we fall into what we call the black culture stereotype, which is violence against other black people. And when I say violence, I mean verbal violence. Black people shouldn't come in contact with each other at all under any circumstance unless they have a constructive agenda. That's the key. Yes, it's to be expected. This is to be expected. But we should understand, first of all, that we're programmed this way. Black people are toxic. All of us are toxic. We are loaded with poison because the system of white supremacy puts that poison in us even before we are born. And when we're born into the system of white supremacy. We're not born into a system of la-la land. We're born into the system of white supremacy. The system of white supremacy is designed for everyone, including black people themselves, to have a hostile position, a hostile thought toward anything dark, and particularly dark people. That's just the way the world is run. That's the way the white supremacists have set it up before any of us were born. So we have to, first of all, know that. So we all carry that poison. It's in us. We're not aware of it, in one sense, you might say. I mean, then in another sense, we are aware of it, but we're in denial. But we have to admit, first of all, we have this poison. And then we immediately should jump to, what do we do about it? Well, the first thing you do, you don't want poison to spread. That's just a part of physics, the laws of mathematics. If you got poison on hand, you don't want the poison to spread. How do you keep the poison from spreading? You make sure that every contact that every black person makes with every other black person has a plan beforehand to do something constructive. Do or say something constructive. Don't get on the cell phone and call anyone just to make conversation. That's an old part of the what you might call black culture or people culture, for that matter. With some people, it works. With most people, particularly black people in the northwestern hemisphere, it's poisonous. It is deadly. You don't pick up that cell phone and call anyone, ever, just to chat. Hey, girl, I haven't heard from you in a little while. What's going on? No, absolutely. That is poison. Poisonous. In other words, our minds are poison. The things that we are getting ready to say to people is loaded with poison. The way that we look at people, the way that we see the world, loaded with poison. The poison was planted in us So every time we make contact with anything, we just spread poison, because we're loaded with poison. And if we are contacting other black people, they are loaded with poison and dynamite. And you're going to get an explosion unless you tailor and suppress that poison and tailor it in such a way that it's kind of shunted off to the side, or it doesn't manifest itself. I mean, when we make these contacts. So I have it in the book, the textbook for victims of white supremacy. No contact, no conflict. If you minimize the contact, you minimize the conflict. Black people themselves know, if you just stop and think about it for a few minutes. You ever notice how well you get along with somebody you haven't seen in 15 years?
We pay alone now. We got enough. I got all my Muslims. Muslim in the even I'm Muslim now.
Well, most white people don't even like to talk to black people because, you know, just on the conversation alone. Just on that. You know, most white people cut you off real short. You know, they don't have time for no random conversation. They'll mention, you know, how the Raiders going to do and something like that. That's about it. They do not, you know, most white men, and it's certainly not white women, have conversation with black people, period. Because they know we ain't talking about nothing that they need to hear. Now, if they think that you are a thinker and that you are a doer, that you get things done, they'll come looking for you to talk to you. But for the most part, they don't want to have no conversation. They sit next to you on the bus and whatnot. They haul out a newspaper and then hide their face behind it, so you don't even look at them. You know, and they definitely don't want to look at you.
Yo, I have seen that. I have seen that. Yeah, I again, as I said, I have seen this repeatedly, and I encourage non-white people to do that. In fact, a non-white person asked me, how would you go about talking to white people about racism? And I told them, you know, you don't have to do that if you're a victim. You can just talk to them if you're trying to get a cheap plane ticket somewhere. White people should be able to help you out with that. If you're trying to get a mortgage or anything constructive.
Oh, yeah, and when you hear them talking to each other, listen. Because in many cases, they are handing out constructive information. You pick up on things that you don't hear otherwise. But you just about know what you're going to hear from black people.
That's how the fuck we do it in the car. Hey, y'all niggas next. Word of my mother, nigga. Black, nigga. Fuck, nigga. God damn, little homie. God damn, little homie.
Look at my face.
Damn, little homie.
I'm gonna come back tomorrow. Come through tomorrow.
Look at his face now.
Usually it's not very constructive.
Wholeheartedly agree.
Yes, you know, you pass by 3 black people standing on the corner, and you pass by them, and the conversation is really depressing. You know. Hey, man, I told the MF. Well, you know, I mean, I ain't no fool. I mean, he come up getting in my face. I told him he better not do that again. You know, that's what you hear, just in passing them on the street.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man, so, you know, he fooled around with that woman and coming over, bringing her over to my house. I mean, you know, they sitting down there. I mean, you know, they eating my food. I told them, don't be coming back over there no more, you know. Yeah, I told them, you know. How long have I been hearing that? Over and over again, year after year, decade after decade. The conversations are nothing but conflict or something depressing. I mean, just passing them. Just passing by the average black person.
Express flows of diarrhea. I bet his dad, you know, everyone, just a moment of silence, because I will say, you know that Betty's dad fucked a white woman, got her pregnant, and then disowned the baby. Oh, shit. Explosion. I'm just saying that, innit? That's why she's so angry. Remember Betty used to be proper angry at white people? Yeah. She's calm right now, isn't it? Yeah. I know, man.
Abu from Aladdin. Can you call Mohib Abu from Aladdin?
Yeah. Big up, man. Abu. I'm big up. I'm Aladdin then. You get me?
Yeah. He's saying you're Aladdin, yeah?
See, this, you know, you're just passing by. But that's the kind of conversation you'll hear.